Hi, everyone. So, what's happening in the world in this current moment leaves me at a loss of words. And at the same time, I have a million of words, a million of thoughts that I also would like to share. However, as a man of faith, I was actually looking forward to church service today in order to find a way to bridge what spirituality, faith, community looks like during a time where there's a global pandemic and Black lives are literally being murdered and video access is just available to witness this trauma basically on all platforms. Whether you are a believer of God or not, I invite you to listen into what I hope to share today. And before I start, I just want to read one passage from Matthew 6, verses 2 through 4. So when you give to the needy, do not announce it with trumpets, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and on the streets to be honored by others. Truly, I tell you, they have received their reward in full. But when you give to the needy, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your giving may be in secret. Then your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you. There's a lot of different ways you can interpret this passage, but the main connection that I'm making to how this passage, how the Word of God has spoke to me through that is what I'm seeing on social media, which is beautiful in many ways. I think there's a lot of people right now providing anti-racist content, curriculum, access to resources. Many people posting Black Lives Matter. So many people donating, screenshotting that they're donating. And I think objectively, these are amazing. These are tangible steps that everyone is taking part in. However, I do identify as someone who is a purpose seeker, who focuses on depth over distance, who focuses on the quality over the quantity. So this message is specifically to folks who are non-Black, who are channeling a sense of maybe outrage or I don't know what to do in this current moment and I want to do something. I want to remind you folks that the work has never stopped, that this work has been continuing since the very day Black people were brought to this country. And by work, I mean resistance. And what I hope, my hope is that maybe as you continue to post, continue to share, that you're very intentional and that you look inward at the work that you're doing for your spirit. And what that looks like is essentially saying, hey, do I feel good reposting maybe a minute a day and moving on to my day-to-day life? Do I feel like this is enough? Because the fact of the matter is, it is never enough. The work is never finished until we see Black liberation in this country. Until systems are dismantled, until you see more Black joy on social media, in the streets, everywhere you go, than what's happening on our screens and in our faces in this current moment. I wanted to bridge one more thing that I learned and dove deeper in today, and it's what does the church mean in this current moment? I currently attend Oak Life Church. I've been attending there for maybe 3-ish years, maybe 4, and I've always learned something deep, and it's a beautiful spiritual community that is here to support all Black lives. And today the question was, what does the church mean in this current moment? And as I was listening, I was drawing a lot of parallels to how I see many Christians in the world utilize church and understand church, and how I see many people who claim allyship show up for Black lives. And what I learned in church today, or relearned, was that church isn't an event. It's not something we wait for every Sunday. Church is the body. It's a community. It's a group of shared believers who work towards fighting justice with prayer and with action. I say that because oftentimes it feels like it takes police getting caught. It takes things being filmed. It takes things hitting our timeline in order for us to step in and to take action. And I connect the dots because Black Lives Matter is not an event. It's resistance. It's a movement. It's something you choose into. As Bell Hooks writes in All About Love, love and abuse cannot coexist. As she also writes, she says, love is action. And I say that because what I hope is that the momentum and the voices, the new allies that we're hearing from now, that I hear from you in a week, and I hear from you in a month. And I don't only want to hear from you, I want to see action. And I want you to know modalities and the way you show action and show up for Black lives. There's not one answer. There's not one blanket solution. I don't identify as Black, and I am constantly working through ways I can combat anti-Blackness within my own community, my own spirit, because a lot of it is still in there, and a lot of us carry that. And I think what we need to do is to stop feeling guilty and to start holding ourselves accountable. And then going back into the world and showing how we're going to show up for people. For me, I've chosen to study ethnic studies for the past 4 years at Cal. You can count the number of people of color who chose into studying that at the University of California, Berkeley. I say that because in this moment, it looks like many people who are my age want to dive into that content. And I want you to know those resources have been available for you since forever, and I hope and I encourage you to extend beyond social media as your medium to learning about history, your medium for showing support. And going back to the biblical passage at the beginning, maybe when this stuff dies down on social media, I have an invitation for you to continue doing the work. Whether that means donating without letting people know, whether that means reading a text, reading Black literature, reading and focusing and looking at Black leadership, looking at community organizations who have devoted their lives to uplift Black communities. Before you go scrambling and seeing what can I do, look at the work that has been done already and see if you can hop in there. I encourage you to listen, to stay listening. What we need less of people calling out other people in this moment. Yes, it could happen, but do not let that be your fight. We don't need more Asian people saying, you're complicit, you're not doing X, Y, and Z. Where does that leave you? There's a difference between being not racist and anti-racist. And that action of calling out, yes, that's important, but I invite you to do the internal work. The same way we see church sometimes as something we wait for every Sunday, I believe people who truly live by faith incorporate the teachings, the love, the community they take from church every Sunday and bridge it into their Monday through Saturday, into little intentional pieces, however that may look like. There's no one way that looks like. The same way I hope the world does not have to wait for another Black man to be murdered in order to find ways that you are going to take action within yourself to look inward, to hold and be a practitioner of Black Lives Matter in your day-to-day. Many of us, I think all of us, don't know the end date for when this work is going to end. And I don't want that to discourage you from even starting. I encourage you to integrate this into your lifestyle, however that may look within your given capacity. You do not need to be on the front lines. You do not need to be out there protesting 24/7. The work is both external and internal, but the work is never finished. And if you are non-Black in this country, know that you have privilege. So don't seek trying to find ways to traumatize yourself, to claim trauma that's not yours in order to feel what Black people are feeling, because you cannot. Take the time to listen to love. Be agents of love. That is what this message is for. We need agents of love in this world, agents of change. Because as we look back on this week, maybe a week from now, 2 weeks from now, 2 years from now, 20 years from now, ask yourself, did I let struggle define this moment, or did I let love? And if we let love define this moment, no, that does not mean trauma is absent. That does not mean pain is absent. Love holds us in this moment the way we are hoping and taking action to hold our Black brothers and sisters together in this moment. There are often times I think of this system as a conveyor belt. You know, when you're at the airport and it's moving forward, that conveyor belt serves as the constant resistance that makes us want to give up on the work. And right now, the conveyor belt is moving, and many of us are actually pushing hard. But again, in 2 weeks from now, if there's not another Black death, God, pray that we don't let that conveyor belt kind of just drag us back. That we know that every day we wake up, no matter what pace we're going at, that we keep a pace and that we don't stop. Because the work doesn't stop. Black people do not get the option to opt out of their struggle of their lives. But we have a choice to choose into how we support these communities. I think the last thing that I want to share and leave out is there's a lot of riot, a lot of violence happening out there. And I'm a huge believer of not being caught in thinking between the binaries. If that's good, if that's wrong, if that's something I would do, if that's something I wouldn't. The last thing I invite you to take from this, if you want to, is to listen to understand and to not listen to respond. There's so many beautiful pieces of content that are articulating the issues that are happening right now. So I invite you to listen to them. I am not an expert on the Black experience. I'm not an expert on social justice. But I hope within myself day to day that I'm a practitioner of this love. And with this work and this commitment, I want you to know that healing is one of the most important things that our country needs. So be vocal, fight, resist. But there are going to be times when you're going to get tired. And my hope is that if anyone gets the chance to surround themselves with protection and love first and rest from this fight, it's our Black brothers and sisters. And that while they get to process with their loved ones, everyone else is out there vocalizing, donating, supporting, taking action. Because that's what solidarity is about. There's no one way we can all show up the same. That's actually not what it's about at all. Understand your strength in this movement and utilize that. Don't try to read a book, don't try to donate millions of dollars, and don't try to be an expert on X, Y, and Z in the next 24 hours. Commit to the long run because this is going to take hella long. And the last thing we need is for people to stop. Donate to spaces, post spaces where healers are offering their service, offering people the opportunity to also grieve in this moment. Because that is action, that's processing. Being Black in this country means resistance, literally by just existing. So again, as we continue to be present and intentional with ourselves and the world around us, day by day, continue to ask yourself, how can I let love define this moment? How will I show up? And what will I choose to be intentional with today? Protect sustainable models in the support of Black lives and Black communities. This is an ongoing fight. and I believe justice will be served.